O dabar išpildom 3 karaliaus norus. Prenumeruojam, sekam ir spaudžiam patinka.
Lacking any semblance of emotion or empathy, a psychopath is barely even human. So, from the woman behind the Manson murders, to the boy who killed his younger sister.
Beje, Supikai, gal reikia iš tikrųjų, gal reikia rasti kažkokį labai blogą grafą, bet ten akivaizdus melas būtų, žinai, aš nenoriu meluoti, aš noriu jos patrolinti nemeluojant, žinai, blet. Jo, beje, praleidau tas ir man kokio, kad nežino proreikšmės irgi, bet gal ir žino, tipo, visų pirma, vis tiek turi būti kažkiek geresnis, už daug tų žaidėjų, kad actually iš to gyventum tiek metų, bet, tipo, jo, čia tiesiog jeigu užgauna, kad, tipo, ko jis save laiko, žinai, ir iš karto užsiputoja, nori priešintis. Šitas, tai parašus į Marozo, ne psichopatą.
Join us.
Robertas.
Hosted by psychologist and assaulter, the 1996 documentary Truth, Lies and Sex Offenders featured interviews with multiple predators. One in particular, known only as Robert, was both a manipulative child molester and an epitome of psychopathic behavior. Whilst unlike the others on this list, he didn't murder somebody. The coldness in which he describes the molestation of his stepdaughter is just as chilling.
It started at about the age of 1.
Labas, Papa Vuski.
When I was the punisher, I was the one who decided punishment over the children. I was the one who spanked the children. I was the one who punished the children. I would tell myself, well, she's not going to be like that. She is going to be the perfect mate. And I told myself that. And I didn't molest her then.
The perfect mate.
The perfect
So you were...
mate. I was grooming her to fit me. Then when I molested her at 18 months old. And I thought to myself, I said, well, this is going to be easy. This is going to be easy. I'm going to have my own child, my own stepdaughter, which is really not blood related to me. And I'm telling myself these things, it's not blood related to me. When she grows up to be 14, 15 years old, I will have the perfect sexual mate for sexual purposes. Anything else didn't matter. It was sex. That was it. I didn't care about, really, honestly, I didn't love the child. I wanted the child for my own purposes. And treating them like a person, but they were just objects. The best way to fool people is to help them, is to ask what they want, ask what they need. Do they need any help doing anything? Do they need any money, or do they need their car fixed? Do they need the grass cut? Do they need their children looked out for? Do they need anything to get them to think that I am a decent person and want to help? Trust me, I will help. And yeah, that was manipulation all the way.
Kai tinka aprašymą, aš paskaičiau būtent aprašymą psichopatijos. Characterized by persistent antisocial behavior, impaired empathy and remorse, and bold, disinhibited and egoistical traits. Tai realiai jisai visus... Gal jis nėra antisocial. Nežinau, iš šito bent jau. Bet iš to, ką papasakoju, visiškai nulis empathy ir bold, disinhibited, egoistical traits, viską turi, tipo. Visus iš karto išvykai pirmos eilutės realiai. Labas, Godėci. Pirmą pažiūrėsim 4 interviu su psichopatais ir tada pokerio game žiūrėsim. Damn.
A disillusioned and disturbed individual, 19-year-old Susan Atkins was perfect for the infamous Charles Manson cult. Soon into her stay, Atkins developed an obsessive infatuation with Manson, coming to believe he was the physical return of Christ. As such, when he told her of an imminent and apocalyptic race war, she immediately believed him. In fact, Atkins was so convinced of this concept, she was one of the first to volunteer to help initiate it. Hearing this, Watson ordered her and equally dedicated followers, X. Watson and Patricia Krenwinkel, as well as the more hesitant Linda Kasabian, to drive to 10050 Cielo Drive, demanding they slaughter its residents as violently as possible. The rest of this story remains a part of America's dark history, with 5 innocent people brutally butchered, including most notably, heavily pregnant actress Sharon Tate. According to the followers, Tate pled to be allowed enough time to give birth, but was merely told to shut up and thrown onto the sofa. Then, as she begged for her life, Atkins stabbed her 16 times. Unsurprisingly, however, despite this brutality, Atkins later claimed to have become a devout Christian.
What happened that night you all went to Sharon Tate's house? What really happened?
Well, I remember getting in the car with Tex and Tex Watson and my other 2 co-defendants. And we drove to the house with instructions to kill everyone in the house.
From Charlie?
Yeah. And not just that, but that we were instructed to go all the way down every house, hit every house on the
street?
On the street, yes.
And kill all the people in those houses?
Kill all the people in all those houses.
Man visą laiką yra labai įdomu. Galima, aš nežinau, į kiek dalių galima visą žmoniją padalinti, bet yra toks jausmas, kiek aš gyvenu 30 metų, whatever, 35, tiek, kiek aš bendravęs su žmonėm, kiek susidūręs su žmonėm, yra toks tarsi jausmas, kad jos galima padalinti 2 kategorijas. Pagal tai, kaip jų smegenys tiesiog funkcionuoja ir veikia. Ir pas vienus tarsi yra visiškai racionalus, toks kažkoks procesas, net neracionalus, visa toks mąstymo toks procesas, kur tu, nežinau kaip išsireikšti net, žiūri iš kritinio mąstymo tos tokios pusės. Bet tada yra kita pusė, ir nežinau, ar jie 50-50 pasilina ar ne, bet yra, kur nėra to tiesiog. Tiesiog nėra. Ir aš nežinau, what the fuck. Aš niekaip nesuprantu, kodėl taip yra. Ir tai drastiškai matos, kurie žmonės labiau ten visokiam konspiracijom tikės, kurie vatnikai bus, jie visi turės tas smegenis. Nes, tipo, kad būtum toj pusėj, tu turi nemąstyti. Tu realiai turi neturėti to kažko. Nes jeigu tu tą kažką turi, per 5 minutės tu negali tikėtis dalykais. Tai va, jinai įeina į tą va irgi sąrašą žmonių, nes jinai va patikėjo iki tokio lygio, kad varė žudyti žmonės. Ir aš nesuprantu, kaip, man nesuvokiamas tas tikėjimas iš viso toksai. Kad įtikėjau į žmogų, tada paskui tą žmogų, ten Manson Family skaitau čia, varo žudyti ir ją instruktina, jinai tą daro daryti, aš nežinau. Tas tikėjimas tiesiog pasakė ir tikiu. Bet aš ne visai apie tai kalbu, nes daug žmonių pasako ir jie tiki, netgi tie, kur mąsto iš tikro. Jie nežino, kur ten informaciją patikrinti, jiem nerūpi ir tipo. Bet aš atskiriu labai pagal kažkokį tokį specifinį dalyką, kad atrodo, seni, jeigu tu bent 5 minutės pagalvotum apie savo sprendimą ir actually pagalvotum kritiškai, tu neprimtum to sprendimo, kurį tik ką priėmei. Ir didžiulė dalis, tarsi pusė ar ten viena dalis visos žmonijos tiesiog neturi to. Jie neturi to. Jie atrodo, joks sprendimas tarsi buvo pagalvotami, bet nekritiškai mąstė. Tipo visiškai, I don't know, it's fucking weird. Aš apie tą netaip senai pradėjau mąstyti ir netaip senai ir pastebėjau iš tikrųjų. Ir man labai įdomu, kas čia veikia. Nes jo, visiškai galima ten skirsti žmonės turbūt daugiau, bet tas toksai, į smulkesnius dar galima skirstyti paskui, bet tas pagrindinis toks vienas bruožas, jis tiesiog visuose tose žmonyse ir aš, I don't know, kažkas tokio kaip polinkis pasikliauti kito žmogaus nuomonę ir priešingą pusę, kurį nori nuspręsti patys, I don't know. Čia ir yra tas kritinis mąstymas, ir bet, nes matai, tie žmonės, kurie kritinio mąstymo neturi, tarp jų jos gali skirstyti tada ir mažesnius tos tokius, kaip čia, grupės. Tie, kurie tikės aklai kitais. Tie, kurie kaip tik priešingai, netikės niekuom. Jie, aišku, nemastys vis tiek kritiškai ir jie tiesiog neturės tokio vieno kažkokio autoriteto ir gal tiesiog informacija tada gausi iš belenkur, iš vis net patys nežinodami iš kur. I don't know. Gerai, aš nenoriu čia ilgai rantinti apie tai, bet man įdomu, kai jinai va taip pasakė tiesiog, mum instruktino tiesiog ir mes tą padarėm. Jinai įtikėjo į tą žmogų ir, o kurioje vietoje tu savo mąstymą panaudoji? Akimirkai bent. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Čia gal YouTube apie kurserinius žudikas paskambino, man atrodo kažką esam žiūrėję apie tai.
And we went into the house and I remember that as we went in, a car came up to the driveway, and I remember Tex getting out, and without saying anything, there were gunfire shot. I was in the bushes, and...
That's when the young boy, Stephen Parent, was
right,
killed.
Was killed.
In the
right.
car, outside.
Right. The people in the house were all brought into the living room and tied up, and I remember that Wojtek Bakowski, I believe is his name, I had tied his hands with a towel and then was instructed to kill him. And I raised the knife that I had in my hand, and I couldn't put the knife down. I couldn't bring it down. It was just as though there was a force there that held my wrist, and I couldn't move. And as he saw that I couldn't move, then he very easily undid the ties, the towel that I had tied his wrist with, and he and I began to fight. And I remember I was screaming for help, and he was screaming for help, and then Tex came and helped me, and I was left to sit and watch Sharon Tate. And about that time, all I can remember seeing is people just scattering in different places and running in different places, and I was left sitting with Sharon Tate, and she was talking to me, and I remember that I had absolutely, I felt nothing. I felt absolutely nothing for her as she begged for her life and for the life of her baby.
In this room were all the survivors of those victims, of yours and the others, their families and their friends. What would you say to them?
Say what I would have to say to them. I just love them. I feel for them. I feel their pain. I feel their sorrows and their loss. And I didn't feel that years ago. I didn't feel anything for them.
Susan Atkins died on September 24th, 2009 at the Central California Women's Facility in Chowchilla. A prison spokesperson announced to reporters that her cause of death was listed as natural causes. Her husband, James Whitehouse, subsequently released a statement saying that her last whispered word was amen. Kiek metų jai buvo, kai mirė? Šiam vieni. Nuteisė visam gyvenimui, realiai mirties bausmė, bet tada tenais kažkaip Supreme Courtas pakeitė tą ir iš karto po metų ten, tiesiog iki gyvenimo galvos buvo kalėt nuteista. Damn. Aš turėjęs paną, kuri man buvo sakius, galėtų žmonė kas nors nuspręsti visus mano sprendimus, pasakė ramiai, bet man krypliai nuskambėjo. Turiu vieną draugę, kuri sakė, kad jai sunkiausias turbūt dalykas yra tiesiog priimti sprendimus. Legit irgi tą pasakė. the fuck is this shit? Women, am I right? Ja, žiūrėkit, ir šita, blėt, savo sprendimų nepriėmė. Jai pasakė ir nuėjo ir žudė žmonės. Wait a second. Gal ta pusė populiacijos, kuri nemasto, kur aš čia sakiau, kur galima padalinti populiaciją vos ne į 2 dalis, gal ta pusė populiacijos yra moteris?
In January 1999, after 8 years of a violent marriage, Mary Jean Pearl finally separated from her abusive husband, John Battaglia. Yet whilst the pair hated one another, Pearl was convinced that he adored their daughters, Faith and Liberty. Still, while she initially let John continue to see them, after he attacked her once more on Christmas, a subsequent 2-year probation sentence meant the visits became periodic. Then in April 2001, Pearl complained that he'd violated his parole once more. As such, Faith and Liberty's next visit would be their last. According to prosecutors, this was the final straw, and an infuriated John decided to murder his daughters, knowing just how much it would devastate Pearl. Of course, unaware of his plan, she left the pair with him for a planned dinner. However, John instead took them back to his apartment. There he suddenly found Pearl, all the while aiming his gun at Liberty and Faith. John then placed the call on speakerphone and told Faith to ask her mother why she wanted Daddy to go to jail. As Pearl listened, obviously fearful and confused, she heard her daughter plead with John to not shoot. Her cries meant little, however, and following their pleading, he shot Faith 3 times and Liberty 5. Nearly 17 years later, John was executed by lethal injection. A year prior to his death, whilst preparing for his first scheduled execution, he was interviewed for the documentary, My Dad's on Death Row.
Oh, when I attacked Michelle, I wouldn't really call it attack. Went up to her when she was walking down the sidewalk, and I said, you're gonna have to learn this lesson. And I just held her by the shoulder, and I popped her in the head twice. And, you know, she moved her head the wrong way, and I snapped her nose. And she fell down, and I just walked away. She said I struck her about 20 times, but she was unconscious before she hit the ground. Well, the practice she got me put in prison. she knows that.
What the fuck?
The bullshit she pulled, the only way to keep from sending her front teeth flying out her asshole is to have me behind this glass. Because she's a bitch. And she deserved to have the shit knocked out of her, but you know, what the hell.
And when you think about that incident, how does it make you feel?
Makes me feel like I should have killed her. She's such a pain in the ass. Do I think I was a good father to Liberty and Faith? Yes, I mean, you know, I tried to be. Oh, gosh. My fondest memory of my daughters, well, I have another daughter. She's 30 now, Christy. When we used to all get together and go somewhere, it was a kind of a little bit of a 3-ring circus, if you can imagine. 3 highly energetic, fun.
Tipo, how does this work? Kaip tu eini per gyvenimą, tipo, ir tu niekad nesusidūrei su, tipo, problemom? Ar jo visas gyvenimas buvo toks, tik čia pats brutaliausias jau buvo pasielgimas? I don't get it. Tipo, tu tiek ilgą laiką, tu susirandi ten žmoną, vaikus turi, augini, bet tu visą laiką esi toks, nes tu vieną dieną netapai psichopatu ir neužmušiai žmonių, tipo. Tu visą laiką toks tą turėjai. I don't know, how does that fucking work? Ar tai išsivysto tarsi triggeris kažkoks?
Oh, how did Faith and Liberty die? They said they died of gunshot wounds.
So there's nothing about that you remember?
Not particularly, no.
I think it was the police called us and said that they had found him. But he had gone and picked up a girlfriend right after that, and then went next door to a tattoo parlor and had 2 roses.
Už tradicinę šeimą mes, matai.
And barbed wire tattooed on his arm for Faith and Liberty.
Yeah, the night that I was arrested, I had the roses.
Do they have any significance?
Yeah, I love roses.
Ar Wikipedijoje what causes psichopathy? Wikipedijoje nerašė, kad tipo there's no single cause of psychopathy. Researchers indicate that psychopathy results from a complex combination of genetic and environmental non-genetic factors. Nu tai tipo tas pats atsakymas kaip ir su LGBT tipo. Nežinom. Komplikuotas kažkoks sąryšis turbūt įvairių dalykų ir genetinių ir ne. Kai kurie dalykai increasina riską, bet tipo nieko... Kai kurie tipo tiesiog yra gimsta vaikai su higher risk for psychopathy ir tada, I guess, su laiku galbūt juos aplinka ir ištrigerina tokiam, kai kurių gal ne, I don't fucking know. Matai, Viki rašo, kad ne Viki ta prasme, o tas, kur skaičiau, tai ne visai tampama, nes miksas genetinių ir negenetinių, tai...
Psychopath. Paris Bennett brutally murdered his younger sister when he was only 13 years old. Years earlier, on February 4th, 2007, Paris and the 7-year-old Ella were in their Texas home under the care of a babysitter. Somehow, at some point after she was put to bed, he convinced the babysitter to go. Paris then calmly entered Ella's room, and while she slept peacefully, he proceeded to beat, choke, and stab her to death. Disturbingly, later in custody.
Jos ilgai, tai atsargiau savo žodžius rink nahui. Orait, kiek domės pakankamai neaiškia informacija, bet to visi nepilnai patys žino. Yeah.
He confessed to the twisted truth, stating he committed the murder to devastate his mother, Charity. According to his story, he initially planned to kill her, but when he realized that the loss of her children would impose a lifetime of suffering rather than just a few minutes of pain, he instead changed his mind. Still, despite this revelation, Charity continues to visit Paris, comparing his mentality to a shark. No better was this comparison seen than in his recent interview with broadcaster Piers Morgan.
Do you remember what happened after the emergency services turned up at the house?
I remember that a male officer walking past me into the bedroom, and I remember hearing him mutter, "Oh my God," when he saw what I had done. And I remember, I just felt like I was drowning in shame, knowing that they saw what I had done and knew that I had done it.
Your sister Ella was just a young girl, obviously. What were your feelings towards her as her brother, her older brother?
We could sit here and talk all day about my feelings for my sister. A description of my feelings isn't something that I can give you in the brief time that we have together, because I loved her. I loved her with every fiber of my being. But
you say that in the present tense?
Yes.
I mean, she's dead because you killed her?
Yes.
But you love her?
Yes, I do.
Do you think you understand what love is? I mean, are you capable?
I don't really know how to answer that question. And I'm not saying that to be difficult or stubborn, but it's not simple. So I can't just point at something and say, okay, that's love. I recognize it easily, and I feel that.
Why did you have such anger towards your mother?
I spent a lot of time feeling alone as a child. A lot of time feeling left out, not only by my peers, but also by my own family.
But you had done this specifically in the end?
Yes.
To cause your mother maximum pain. This has achieved your goal, which was to...
Ja, čia dar tas kalėjimo eksperimentas, aš nepamenu, kaip vadinasi, man atrodo, taip ir vadinasi, tas prison experiment, kur tipo padalino žmonės į dvi dalis ir jie turėjo tipo maždaug roleplayinti kalėjimo sargus ir kalinius. Ir ten nutraukė net tą eksperimentą, nes tie, kurie, sargus tuos, ten per neįtikėtinai trumpą laiką patapo tiesiog vos ne psichopatai. Per neįtikėtiną trumpą laiką. Tai čia jo, žmogaus natūra, tipo, kai duoda tau galios, Stanfordo, jo, tas, kad ten žmogui duodant jo ir galios ir panašiai, bet, nu, čia nėra tik tai. Čia dar yra, aišku, kaip ten rašė Viki, kad kažkokie dar genetiniai tokie veiksmai, kaip tavo smegenys dar irgi veikia, nes, tipo, ne kiekvienas tą galės padaryti. Turbūt kiekvienas žmogus gali labai daug ką padaryti, bet, nu, kad nuspręstų padaryti ir tiesiog kažką, nu, čia yra kitokie dalykai, žinai. Nu, čia lyginti, žinai, ar gali žmogus kažką žiauraus padaryti. Gali, turbūt kiekvienas, jeigu užspausi į kampą, tipo, nu, mes gyvūnai, tipo, neturi kur bėgti, turbūt gali. Beje, aš, nežinau, vakar numečiau, man atrodo, Discordą iš Joe Rogano interviu su vienu iš žmogaus, kuris buvo iš to Afganistano, kai amerikiečiai traukėsi. Ir jis papasakojo ten tas 10 ar kiek dienų maždaug, visiškai brutalu. Kas tenais dėjosi ir ant kiek žmonės, kokia situacija buvo. Nu, aš siūlau pažiūrėti ten, neįtikėtinas pasakojimas yra. Bet jo, grįžtant prie šito, žmonės, kur spaudė kampą ir arba kai iš desperacijos labai daug ką gali padaryti, bet čia nebuvo desperacijos. Dažniausiai čia tiesiog viena įtikėjo kažkuom, tai jau turėjo savo tą tokią, tarsi buvo paruoštas priimti komandą kažkokią. Ir iš pasaulio, tarkim. Ir ta pana prieš tai priėmė komandą iš to Manson, to lyderio savo. Šitas čiuvakas tarsi priėmė komandą iš savęs, tarsi kai snapino, bet jie visi buvo kažkaip jau paruošti tam, kad, nu, jisai nekentė su mamos, per ilgą laiką ten buvo, kaip ten sako, left alone ir panašiai, ir jis po biškį atsidūrė vietoj, kuris buvo pasiruošęs, tipo, jau, I guess, mentally kažką daryti, gal tik trūko ar progos, ar kažkokio ekstra vieno triggerio, bet tas pasiruošimas didžiai daugumai žmonių gyvenime niekad neteina. Nes jie ar neturi tų genetinių kažkokių turbūt rodiklių, kad atsidurtų ever kažkada tokioj vietoj, gal neturi ir kad juos ten abusintų labai, bet, tas abusas, žinai, daug kai yra abusinė gyvenime ir, serial killeriais netampa tokiais. Tai nėra vien tas, tai reiškia, kad turi grinai daug veiksnių sueiti vieną, kol jisai jau bus, tipo, smegenys jo pasiruošusios tam ir bus jau paklota tam viskas, kas ilgą laiką ėjo ir tada galų gale kažkoks triggeris, I guess. Okay. Scientists find key brain abnormality that may explain why some people are psychopaths. A brain region that is associated with reward perception and impulsive behavior is 10% larger in psychopaths. Okay. Čia aš pakartoju tą, kad nėra vienos priežasties. Dabar 120 volunteers. Nežinau kiek, dar bus tik tai sen, tikrai nespėjom per kem minučių pažiūrėti ten valandos video. Tuoj pradėsiu daug žiūrėti. Liko paskutinio video kelios minutės. Chasing rewardą ten niekos nepanašu, kad jie labai kažkokį rewardą chaseina. Ir dar kas įdomiausia, kad jie niekas neplanavo tų žmogžudysčių, tipo, kad išsisuktų kažkaip ar kažką. Tipo, jam pohui, tiesiog namie iš karto prie lavono stovi, ten, net nėra jokio plano racionalaus mąstymo, kad, tipo, išsisuks ar kažkaip, tipo, pasiekmes, kad išvengs, ar I just tiesiog nulis.